And the main event of the evening, people, we had former undisputed featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski against the rising bull Diego Lopes. Whew. I mean, what we had seen from Diego Lopes was just something else, right? After the short notice debut against Mosar Evelev, he'd just been on a tear. Just been on a tear. Really putting it on people. You know, the stoppage of Sadiq Youssef was like, yo. Then he basically dominated Brian Ortega. You know what I mean? It was just, oh man, some really impressive, like, the submissions, knockouts, and it was just ferocious. But Alexander Volkanovski, possibly the greatest featherweight champion that we have had. So you're looking at this, and people were looking at Volkanovski and going, he's been knocked out twice, right? He's not the same. Now, he'd taken a hit, which I thought was great, right? Give the body, the head, all that time to, get back to where it needed to be. Coming into this fight, it was so hard to, pick a winner. I was looking at it just in the fact of, I feel we had started to see a changing of the guard. You know what I mean? Like, we've got, Sean Strickland, Dracus Duplessis at middleweight, Bilal at welterweight. You know what I mean? You've got Makachev, not Makachev, and Kalayev at, light heavyweight. Marab at bantamweight. We've seen these changes. Right? The new fighters coming through. Paddy Pimblett against Chandler. Right? It's this changing of the guard. So I'm just like, you know what? Volkanovski is tough as fuck. He's a great fighter. But maybe because of this, Lopes, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't have been surprised for Volkanovski to win. And what we saw in this fight, Volkanovski looks so freaking good. Holy cow. Right? He was, because when you, when you break it down and everything like that, Volkanovski has a has a really big reach, which is so deceptive. You don't kind of think of that because he's short, right? But he is what? I think he's got a 71.5-inch reach. And Lopes is a 72.5-inch reach. So there's just an inch in between it. But the way Volkanovski was hitting and throwing that jab, like, you'd think he had the longer arms. You know what I mean? And he didn't come out with any hesitancy. You know what I mean? It was just like, I'm a champion. That's what we saw tonight. Volkanovski coming with that sort of confidence. And what was different with Lopes, the way we've seen him go into other fights, you know what I mean? Just be like braggadocious, not necessarily reckless, but with a frenzy, with a kinetic energy. And we didn't see that. He was trying to be, I'm picking my shots, right? Oh, I'm going to counter. You know, try to be a bit more of a technician. And there's nothing wrong with adding that to your game, but don't take away what got you to the show, right? As long as you're being defensively minded, right? Don't leave your chin up in the air. You know what I mean? Don't exit blindly. Don't just back up in a straight line. You just be sensible, obviously, but don't not do the things that were working. And I think that's what we saw. Volkanovski basically dominated that first round. And really, most of the rounds, right? He stunned, I think, Lopes in the first and the second. Now, towards the end of the second, he did get dropped, but he wasn't hurt, And I think when you see what was done in that round, Volkanovski obviously takes a second, I think. Now, going into the fourth round was Lopez's biggest one, where he cuts Volkanovski. You know what I mean? He does have him backing up a lot, right? He created a lot of damage. So in that round, Volkanovski, you think, oh, he possibly lost that round. When you go by, because in every round, Volkanovski threw the most punches, right? But when going by the rules as they are and damage, I think you give that round to Lopes. I think, right? But that's where it gets kind of, swirly, because if you do a little bit of damage, but someone else landed more than double the amount of significant shots, who wins that round? It's still a convoluted scoring system. It's still a system that it's hard to quantify and go, okay, in this scenario, who wins, right? Because it is very subjective. But what we saw was Alexander Volkanovski show the world he is not done, right? Show the world he can hang with these young lions and not just survive, but thrive. You know what I mean? That's what it was. And Lopes, he's not blown away. This is the thing. Lopes didn't look like Patricio Pitbull. You know what I mean? Like, Lopes was actually in this fight. And he had his moments for sure, right? And when you go away, you can just go, okay, the issue was Lopes wasn't throwing enough. That's the main issue here, right? But when he did throw, he was looking good. He was landing. He hit the uppercut a lot of times. You know what I mean? He was, thinking about that shot placement, right? So Lopes can hold his head up and go, okay, if I make these adaptations, I can win, right? And as I said, he drops Volkanovski in the fourth, hurts Volkanovski in the second, hurts Volkanovski in the fourth. So there are takeaways that Lopes can have from this, right? Not lose hope, not lose confidence, and be like, okay, change these things and I'm back, right? And he's still young. He's still super young, right, in the game when you think about it experience-wise. So, yeah, it wasn't a terrible performance. It just wasn't the performance, say, you were expecting from Lopes, considering previous fights. But Alexander Volkanovski, How tremendous is that guy? Right? How tremendous is that guy? And what next? You know, I think he's invoked the name Mosaf Evelev, which I do like, because Evelev doesn't talk a lot of shit. You know, he's had his feuds online with Aljamain and other people, but he doesn't talk a lot of shit. He's not vocal. It's kind of unassuming. So it's easy to forget about him and go, oh, give the belt to Yair Rodriguez, or, you know what I mean, somewhere. But, you know, Rodriguez has fought for the title, so it would be good to get Mosaf Evelev a shot, right? And, you know, I think Volkanovski is someone that does defend the belt. You know, and when I mean he does defend the belt, I mean he's not looking to fight once a year. Volkanovski will jump in multiple times, so that it does open up the opportunities for people. So yeah, Mosaf Evelev, and if he gets through that, Yair Rodriguez again, maybe Roma. Like, you know, there's options. What we know is the featherweight division is so fucking deep. There's so many intriguing matchups. There are fun times ahead, people. There are fun times ahead with our once again reigning undisputed champion, Alexander Volkanovski.